I wonder if you've seen this meme doing the rounds the last few months. I saw it about 2 weeks into working from home and I burst out laughing because I already knew it was true for my workplace. Who led the digital transformation of your company? We laugh, but for the last 4 months at least, for many of us, COVID-19 can claim that honour. Of course, COVID has and continues to remain a serious health concern, as David alluded to, certainly here in Victoria. But it's had massive impacts in other ways too, not least the issue that we're gathering to consider now, its impact upon the workplace. Indeed, the impact of COVID has been described as the biggest shake-up of the Australian workplace since World War II. For many, it's shaken things up in dramatic and painful ways, as they've had hours reduced or lost work altogether. But as that meme suggests, a lot of that shaking up has been positive, or at least has the potential to be very positive. Certainly in the digital space, but wider than that too. Indeed, the almost unanimous view amongst commentators and experts is that the workplace is never going to be the same again after this. Now, an admission from me at the outset, this topic is so big that I think we can only begin to scrape the surface of it this morning. But what I'm hoping to do in these next few minutes now is two things. Firstly, give us a glimpse of how the workplace has and might continue to change post-COVID. And secondly, and more significantly, suggest 3 ways that we might be salt and light in the new normal. That is, how can we work and interact with our colleagues as the ground continues to shift beneath our feet, such that our lives and our words bear witness to the difference the Christian faith makes for good. So firstly, let's paint that picture of post-COVID work. And let me do this under 2 broad headings. Firstly, when and where we work, and secondly, how we work and what work we do. So firstly, when and where we work. The massive shift that happened in March, where almost overnight entire workforces were shifted into homes, was a dramatic change that many predict will impact where we work forever. Because to varying degrees, many of us have loved the flexibility that's provided to their daily work. As a dad with young children, of course, it's had its moments and challenges working from home. But by and large, the flexibility it has created has really eased some of the daily pinch points. Getting kids out of the door to school, organising who can be home for a tradesperson to visit, being around for the online shopping delivery. As one employer put it, pre-COVID, work was a place you went. Now work is a thing you do, which is actually a more biblical way to think about work. But many employers are embracing this way of thinking because of how much their employees have appreciated it to varying degrees. Where state restrictions allow, hybrid models are starting to come in, where it's the expectation that your work will be split between home and workplace, rather than that being the exception. Now, that's not to say that this is the end of the office. Rather, Jim Stanford from the Centre for Future Work says formal workplaces will remain the centre of gravity for work, but now for highly distributed teams. Offices will be rallying places rather than the place everyone always goes in order to do their work. But even those spaces are going to be radically different as we need to continue practicing social distancing for the indefinite future. I'm not quite sure that this is the solution, one of many being offered, but it is a challenge that many are working through at the moment. Office kitchens, elevators, all changing how we use them. Hence the need for highly distributed workforces so that we can socially distance. So firstly, massive changes to when and where we work. Secondly, how we work and what we do. Regardless of how tech-savvy your workplace was before COVID, having almost entire workforces at home has forced even the most tech-savvy of workplaces to push the boundaries further than before. And that's produced some really creative new opportunities, both in terms of services offered and how they're offered. I'm sure that I'm not the only one who, during this whole season, has thought to themselves, you know, this way that we're doing things now is much better than we used to do it. And in fact, the old way doesn't actually work anymore. We've all had to pivot, to use the word of the season, how we provide our services or products, this morning being just one example of that. And some of that innovation has been exciting to be a part of and has been really appreciated by our customers or clients. So that is just a very brief sketch of the post-COVID workplace. I think you know what I'm talking about when I talk about the radical change. Both where and when and how we work has been shaken up. What we offer and how we offer it has been shaken up. Hence, I don't think that quote I mentioned at the start is an exaggeration. This is perhaps the biggest shake-up of the Australian workplace since World War II. Now, in light of this shake-up, the question I want to answer now is this: how might we be salt and light in this changed and changing work environment, such that our lives and our words bear witness to the difference the Christian faith makes for good in this unstable season? And to that end, I want to suggest 3 practices for us to consider. Number 1, be loving. Number 2, be patient. And number 3, be creative. So firstly, be loving. Love is, of course, the foundational driving principle for Christians. And by love, you know, I don't mean soppy romantic love, but love defined by sacrifice, putting your own interests and agendas aside for the other. This is, of course, how Jesus models love to us. But God demonstrates his love for us like this: while we were still sinners, Jesus died for us. That's what love looks like, epitomized. Or in the words of Philippians 2, be like Christ, who took on the nature of a servant and humbled himself to death on a cross. Of course, the Gospels give us other models of the love of Christ beyond that most climactic demonstration in the cross. There's the love Jesus shows at the tomb of Lazarus, where he weeps with those who weep. There's the love Jesus shows to the woman at the well, being attentive to the person others might overlook. There's the love Jesus teaches about in the parable of the Good Samaritan, who goes above and beyond the call of duty. So many different expressions of costly love we encounter in the Gospels. So what might these expressions of costly love look like in the post-COVID workplace? Here are just a handful of examples to stimulate your thinking. It might be being attentive to the fact that not all of your colleagues and staff are feeling like you are about the post-COVID workplace. And so asking how they're feeling in order to be able to empathise with them. Someone recently told me that his boss is considering that his team work from home permanently. And that is something that he is not looking forward to. He wants to be back in the office, at least for some of the time, for that social interaction we're all missing. On the flip side, you might be wanting to get back into the workplace, but be aware that some in your team or colleagues are nervous about that. Given in Victoria, where we are, 80% of our recent COVID cases have been driven by transmission in workplaces. It's not surprising some are feeling nervous about going back. So love will look like asking questions of your colleagues or your team so you might both notice them and be able to empathise with them. How are you feeling about being back in the workplace? How are you feeling about the prospect of being back in the workplace? How are you feeling about where and when you are currently working? Here's another example, one of going above or beyond the call of duty as an employer. You know, if employers are going to expect employees to work some or all of their time from home, they need to care for them there just like they would in the office. As one person put it, if you want me to work from home, then you can't expect me to be on my kitchen table forever. So in this case, the loving boss will ask of their team, how can I make sure you have what you need to work well from home? Or another example, perhaps you have loved the ease of how you have provided products and services in this season. Things have been streamlined for you and easier in some ways. But your clients or customers are actually longing for a return to the old ways that you did business with them. So costly love might look like putting your convenience, your ease aside for the sake of those that you serve through your work. I could go on, but the principle is this. in all our considerations of how we shape the post-COVID workplace, turn the question around from what works for me to what works best for my colleagues, my customers, my team. And be prepared to put your own interests aside for the sake of others. So number one, be loving. Number two, be patient. As I mentioned at the start, the ground continues to shift between our feet. Where the post-COVID workplace will eventually land is still uncertain. And uncertainty causes a range of reactions. It can make us feel frustrated, annoyed, impatient, angry with our colleagues. But there is something that we can practice in the face of uncertainty, and that is patience. You know, as ambiguities remain around processes, as ambiguities remain around priorities, as ambiguities remain around when am I even going to potentially get back into the workplace at all, the kind of ambiguities which will inevitably lead to some inefficiencies and communication breakdowns, patience will shine out as distinctive and attractive in this season. What breeds patience in our lives? It's meditating afresh on the patience of God towards you, a God who is frequently described in Scripture as slow to anger, and whose patience is ultimately demonstrated in his mercy towards us in salvation. As the Apostle Paul puts it, I received mercy for this reason, so that in me, the worst of sinners, Christ Jesus might demonstrate his extraordinary patience. Reflect on the extraordinary patience of God towards you and be moved to act with patience towards your colleagues in this uncertain season. Friends, they need your patience, especially where it is in short supply and people are feeling anxious and stressed. Be loving, be patient, and finally, be creative. As I mentioned a moment ago, all of us have had to innovate in this season. Some of it has been an amazing success, others less so. But the potential for some of these creative endeavours to continue and even expand, I think, is really exciting and God-honouring. We have a creative God who has created a world of incredible beauty and diversity. Like love and patience before them, God's creativity is also a model to us. So don't confine the creative risks we've all been forced to take over the last few months to that season. But keep taking creative risks. Try and fail. Dream, scheme, plan and strategize to the glory of God. But we need to hold these plans loosely. Part of being creative is also being flexible. Because if there is one thing these past few months has taught us so powerfully, it is this truth from James 4. Now listen, you who say today or tomorrow we'll go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, do work, and make money, why you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. And what is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. COVID has exposed in a dramatic way the foolish thinking that we control the future. So our third practice is this. Our God is creative and sovereign. So as we make our creative plans, we need to release them into his hands. Model to your colleagues a prayerful dependence in your creativity, because you know your place in his world, a mist that appears and vanishes, and that only he is ultimately sovereign and in control of all things. Friends, there's so much more we could say on this topic, and so many more practices we could consider. One of them is particularly pertinent to me at the moment in the state of Melbourne, the state of Victoria, and Melbourne in particular, is being hopeful, and the powerful witness that that can be in a context where there is so much hopelessness. But let's just start with these three practices, knowing that as we practice love, patience, and creativity, we display something of the God we worship, how he acts towards us, and we give our watching colleagues a glimpse of his good way of living in a post-COVID world. Amen.